Wisdom is going to be continuing to elevate in its importance at a time where knowledge is being controlled more and more by AI. The difference between knowledge and wisdom is knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit, and wisdom is knowing not to put it in your fruit salad.
This is the Midlife Chrysalis. Welcome to Wisdom Wednesdays with Chip Conley and Derek Gehl, your weekly conversation about thriving in midlife. Together, we explore the questions, insights, and practices that help you live this chapter with more purpose, vitality, and joy.
Welcome to another episode of Wisdom Wednesday. My name's Derek Gehl, and I'm the CEO here at MEA, the Modern Elder Academy, and I'm with our founder, Chip Conley, for another episode. How you doing, Chip?
I'm great. Thank you. It's good to be here.
All right. We're going to talk about something everybody's talking about right now, and I'm a bit of a nerd in this space as well because it's fascinating, and that is AI. There's so many.
Appreciative inquiry?
Appreciative inquiry.
Yeah, it's a
A
form
lot
of
people wish it was appreciative.
form of asking questions, which, let's be honest, we ask questions of AI, artificial intelligence, but does it do a great job of asking us questions? So like a wise person often asks great questions.
Mm-hmm.
I think AI is starting to. I think it's
Yeah.
that's been adaptive over time.
Yeah.
Initially, it was actually funny enough. It was Pablo Picasso said, "Computers are useless. They only give us answers. Um, they don't ask the questions." And at the end of the day, a wise person is often someone who asks questions. So, and this may be one of the juxtapositions of artificial intelligence and why human wisdom is meant to be the balance for artificial intelligence. But what gets you so excited about artificial intelligence?
Oh, what gets me so excited? It's freeing up mental bandwidth on the low priority things, on the just so we're able to focus on the stuff that does matter, right? And coming into an organization like our own, we've been integrated into places where, I don't want people that are having to do the copy and paste stuff and the simple stuff and putting agendas and schedules together. I want to be able to repurpose them to work on things that are more meaningful to them and stuff that they enjoy, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, I also recognize that, Oracle just laid off via email 20 to 30,000 people this week
Is that right?
by
Oh,
email.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, yeah, somewhere in between 20 to 30,000 people. And so that's
It wasn't Oracle who did it. It was artificial
it
intelligence.
was exactly. Larry woke up one day and went, huh?
Yeah.
No, it's, and the whole argument that if we go back a year and a half, that it's going to create more jobs than it gets rid of. I'm like, that math doesn't math.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, and so how do we adapt in the time of AI? And especially
Yeah.
if you're someone in midlife or later, is there hope here? I would say, let's start with the fact that the people who are most vulnerable, based upon data so far, the people who are most vulnerable in terms of their jobs are knowledge workers who are younger.
Yeah.
So it's entry-level positions because, quite frankly, artificial intelligence does that faster, better, and cheaper. Where artificial intelligence is less good so far is in the higher order kind of thinking, imagination, intuition, collaboration, and creativity. And so, the good news for those of us who are in midlife and later is that artificial intelligence is having less of an effect for us than it is for our kids.
Yeah.
Having said that, artificial intelligence is getting better and better, and we may have AGI, this idea of artificial general intelligence that would actually mimic humans. And of course, not really mimicking humans, it's because it actually gets better at it much faster than we do. So in essence, there's a wisdom element to it. So I would just say the key thing to know, and you hear this from all of the prognosticators in the universities, is this is a time where we need to actually amplify human skills. What would offer used to be called soft skills, but I think we now call durable skills, because durable skills are the kinds of skills that are relevant in any kind of workplace. If someone's smart at a domain, they're really good at coding Python.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily going to ask marriage advice from them because I won't say I won't, but I'm just saying smartness is localized to a particular domain. Wisdom is across domains. And it's really, so a wise person, you would ask questions about it, just about anything, because they're wise across domains. And so wisdom is going to be continuing to elevate in its importance at a time where knowledge is being controlled more and more by AI. And so the difference between knowledge and wisdom is knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit, and wisdom is knowing not to put it in your fruit salad. And so the idea that, just because it's a fruit doesn't mean that it's and a fruit salad is often based upon metabolized experience.
Hmm.
So AI is here to stay. And yes, there may be some legislation around it in the next few years, but honestly, it's moving so quickly that the politics cannot keep up
No,
with it.
they can't.
Therefore, what we have to do is look at how do we prepare organizations for AI?
Hmm.
And I'd love to have you talk about that in a moment and what we've been doing at MEA,
Hmm.
but also how do we elevate some of the things that I think we can do better than AI? So
Hmm.
learning how to ask an intuitive question is
Hmm.
valuable. In fact, philosophy majors are seeing a little bit of a hockey stick right now, to use a Canadian term, a hockey stick in terms of demand,
Yeah.
because a lot of the AI companies are hiring philosophy majors. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because they have ethics.
Hmm.
They have an ability to create questions based upon thoughtful inquiry that goes into deeper kinds of almost spiritual, ethical,
Hmm.
and humanistic issues. So, but here at MEA, you've sort of actually imposed on the team, the leadership team and managers,
Yeah.
a directive of saying, I want you to get good at AI. I
Yep.
want that to be part of
Yep.
your job. How's that gone?
So it's interesting. Change management in an organization
Mhm.
is always interesting, and this has been probably one of the more interesting case studies. And one of the things I heard Scott Galloway say was,
Mhm.
AI is not going to take your job, but somebody who's really good at AI will take your job.
Mm.
And as you've said on previous episodes, the economic model of a boutique luxury small retreat center,
Mm.
it's a tough economic model.
Yep.
It can absolutely be profitable, but we don't have the luxury of just throwing human resource
Yeah.
at every need.
Yep.
And so as you bring this into an organization, I see a spectrum. You have the people that see it and go, wow, this is amazing. It's going to free me up, do other things and take away all this menial stuff, right? So Gail,
Mhm.
our COO, she's just like, this is amazing. Give it all to me and just embraces it, right? But there's other sides of the organization where you just see people just cross their arms and sit back and go, nope,
Yeah.
this is really
And what's that
difficult.
coming from? Is it technophobia, or is it a fear that if I get good at this, it's gonna take my job?
I think it depends on the individual and,
Yeah.
and the person and how their relationship with technology. First of all, there is, I think, an underlying fear across everybody right
Mhm.
now of will this take my job?
Mm.
And my message to our team here is no, it isn't. It's just going to make you better and it's going to allow us to scale this organization without having to add a lot of
Mhm.
headcount.
Mhm.
Now, if you're Oracle, on the other
Mm.
hand, I mean, we don't employ a lot of programmers, right?
Mhm.
Programmers, it would be a whole different can of
Yeah.
worms. And so you have people that also don't understand it. And so they go, oh, it can't do that because they try and they apply the same reasoning of old technology to AI. So
Mm.
they go, well, this is too complex.
Mm.
AI can't do this. What they haven't recognized is AI is now at a point where it can reason through problems that we can reason through. Right? I'll give you a perfect little example. I was sitting with our operations team and they have this giant spreadsheet and they have to put together a list every week that we send to our transportation that coordinates getting everybody from the airport to here. And they said, well, it needs, sort of human oversight because the airline is broken into 3 categories and we figure that out. And I'm
Mhm.
like, that's a piece of cake. AI can figure those things out. So there's a bit of I live in the world of it, but I forget that most people haven't
Yeah.
spent time with it to recognize how
Well,
good it
fear
is.
of fear of failure. Like,
Yep.
what if it gets it wrong? And
Yeah.
and then I look bad as a result of it.
Yeah.
You have a lot more confidence in,
100%.
you don't wanna delegate.
Yeah.
So if you're a hard time delegating, you're delegating to someone who ultimately you can't fire as an AI,
Yeah.
there's an element like, "Oh, okay, no?"
Yeah, and you're right. And I think people, as they use it more, it will build confidence in them. But in terms of positioning it in the organization, here at MEA, we don't have a huge head count. Some days it may feel like we have a huge head, but
Yeah.
we don't.
Yeah.
And so it's more of a case of, hey guys, as we scale this company, I don't want you doing
Mhm.
the stuff that a computer can now do. I want you doing the more higher
Yeah.
value stuff
Yeah.
that is more engaging for you.
Yeah.
And change management, you can't. So certain organizations are literally measuring what they call token usage. right? And if you're not using enough tokens, you're not using AI. And that's a pretty blunt instrument to enforce this. Whereas I would rather take approach of, okay, let's collaborate on this. Let's educate, start using it,
And share best practices.
and share best practices. And we come together as a team once a month after we've done a session and say, how are you using it? Where are you stuck? Show us examples of how you have moved forward with it. But it is also a really interesting time because the technology is moving so quickly that it feels like once you figured something else, you're already,
Yeah.
you've moved on from that, right? So it's super exciting times.
So what do you think, I'm gonna interview you this
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. Fire away.
What do you think if you're a midlife career person
Mm.
and what would you recommend that they do to make themselves relevant in the era of AI so they can feel like they've got gainful employment for a bunch more years?
You know, one of the things you said, and this is true, very true, is it's the younger generations I think that are going to get impacted the most. And if you're mid-career or later career, even embrace, use it.
What does it mean to embrace?
To embrace don't be hesitant to use it. I mean, get in there and learn it, and ask it questions,
And when you say
and be
it,
curious.
what would you recommend in terms of the various AI tools?
Yeah, I mean, across them, Claude is the one that's becoming the enterprise standard, right? It really is. It's the best for research. It's the best for voice and style and also interconnectivity across all of the different apps. It's truly built for that. And it's got the lowest hallucinations, although none of them are bad anymore in terms of making stuff up. ChatGPT, it would probably be kind of the close second. Google, I'm still trying to figure out what they're doing. They have Gemini's kind of integrated into their suite, but Claude's definitely winning. And frankly, Claude Anthropic's move to say to the US Department of War that you can't use this for making decisions that could have consequences on people's lives, I think was a brilliant move on their part.
Branding perspective.
From a branding perspective.
I think
I'm
Scott
sure.
Galloway agrees with you. Yes.
Yeah, from an enterprise, they're going to definitely
Well,
sacrifice some.
there's a legal case that's going to go on.
Yeah.
I mean, they lose the business from the government. The government
Yeah.
is trying to make it such that you lose anybody who's contracted with the government can't use Claude either. It's like they're going to lose.
They're going to lose that
Yeah.
battle, 100%. So.
Yeah. Okay. So people should get familiar with the tools. Is there anything else?
Honestly, it's just be curious and play with them and ask them questions, because the more you play with it, the more it understands you, but the more you understand how it works and how it interacts. And also, we've got to let go of our beliefs, right? So one of the ones is, there's a fantastic app. I haven't given it to you yet, but I'm using it. I got to get it installed. It's called Whisperflow. And basically, it eradicates the need for your keyboard 90% of the time, because it allows you to communicate via voice in a way that was never possible before with just about any application on your computer. And it speeds up your workflow immensely, right? So, if you're a good typer, maybe 70 words a minute, right? We can speak at 150 words a minute. And all of a sudden, we don't have to think about the typing and the grammar and the punctuation. It just does all of that for us. And it was interesting because I sat down with somebody and they said to me, well, I just don't feel comfortable talking to my computer. And I said, well, when somebody first put a keyboard in front of you, you didn't feel comfortable probably typing to a computer either. But this is how we were taught to interact with these machines. And I predict probably in 10 years, the need for keyboards is going to be almost gone, right? So, if you feel this resistance, ask yourself why and move on from that.
Yeah.
But we're also, later in our careers, I think we're in a more stable place. I think we need to leverage AI, where I think the human race is really terrible at seeing long-term consequences. I mean, I look at China's one-child policy, and I would apply that to what I see happening with AI. Is the legal firms, the accounting firms, they're not hiring all of the articling students. They're not hiring the junior accountants that are going to come in and do the reps, that are going to get those years of experience, to get that crystallized intelligence that we now have, to be able to see the patterns, to see the big picture that AI may be missing. So we're going to, capitalistic society, short-term gains, but where does that leave us in a decade or two from now when we haven't trained up that next generation?
Yeah, because there's something to be said for the process of let me just talk about blog posting. I have 7 days a week blog posting. 5 of them are mine, 2 of them are guest posts on Wisdom Well. Well, I do use AI for my blog posts occasionally, but what I know is afterwards, and you and I sometimes are, for the sake of these Wisdom Wednesdays, we're looking at my blog posts. You'll tell me it's this blog post is like, I don't remember that blog post. Oh, we just heard some horses. Some horses are named.
We're on a ranch.
So, the process we learn when we're learning something has huge value in terms of it, you've imprinted it in your brain and you've built a skill around it. And one of the challenges with AI is that we become so reliant upon it that we don't know how to drive a car again. Which was, which is where we're going to go with autonomous driving. So you just have to recognize that if there's things in your life that are important, for me, writing is important.
Mhm.
So I better not get too reliant on AI
Mhm.
because I want to actually keep that muscle working.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of other things in my life that are not as important, and
Yes.
they're very rote, and they're like I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can sort of offload that.
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing to recognize, right? What are the skills you wanna stay sharp on?
Yeah.
And if you start offloading those all the time to AI,
Yeah.
forget about it.
Yeah.
S
Well,
so
what's the suggestion? Are what could people take away from this in
I mean,
terms of
honestly, if you're not using AI right now, is be curious. Just go create an account with
Mhm.
ChatGPT, and you can't break it. I think ChatGPT is your best all-round sort of day-to-day use one, right? If you're using it for business, go create a Claude account for $20 a month and just start learning. And if you're like, well, where do I start? It's really simple. Just ask it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I need to learn you. Where do I start?
Yeah.
And it will start teaching you how to do that. And, it's interesting to watch as we have to break habits that we've had ingrained for so many years. Now that we have this tool that's changing the way we work. So,
Yeah.
and this is the message I've had to the team is as you're going through the day, keep track of your workflows and go,
Yep.
is this something that I could offload? And if it is, even if you're not sure, go and ask AI,
Yeah.
here's what I'm doing. Can I load this to you?
Yeah.
And what would that look like?
Interesting.
So
Well, keep
that's
it
everybody's
going.
homework.
Keep it going.
Be curious. That's my that's everybody's homework for this
All right.
week.
Thank you, Derek.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. If you like what you heard, leave us a rating, leave us a review, and we'll see you guys again next week.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to Wisdom Wednesdays on the Midlife Chrysalis. This show is produced by Midlife Media. If you have a question you'd like us to explore in a future episode, please send it to podcast@meawisdom.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, help us spread the word by subscribing and leaving a review on your favorite platform.